how do I not be crass about this? Yeah, okay. So I feel like most Nazis are like really mentally ill. Like like it's really bad. I interact with a lot of Nazis um on account of my job. They're on my Twitter, they're in my email, they're in my Discord DMs, especially since I joined that politics server I did an AMA with. I get a lot of messages from them. And as a control group, I also get a lot of messages from non-Nazis, to be fair. And man, a lot of Nazis really act like paranoid schizophrenics. I don't want to come off like I'm a fucking mental health expert or anything, because I'm not. But every time I interact with a Nazi, like literally every single time, it's always a coin flip on whether they're going to be like actually incoherent. Flamenco is a really, really good example. Like, do you guys want to see some shit? Look at this. This is Flamenco's DMs to me. The last time I messaged Flamenco was in late July. And since then, no, this isn't the alcoholic. This is the kid who hung around with the alcoholic. And whenever I talk to him, I tried to talk to him once, like actually talk to him. Like that was this conversation, I think. Here, no, it was this one. Yeah, okay. So I think it started with Flamenco making fun of me because on D Live, Nick Fuentes, um, he got more viewers than me. But for a brief period of time, I was actually the top person on D Live because I got on before Nick. And so I was the top person on D Live, and I took a screenshot because it's cool. I'm at the top of the thingy. And then Flamenco's like months afterwards. How long afterwards was this? This was from June. So this was an entire month afterwards. He messaged me, "Hey buddy, why'd you post the screenshot after Nick left?" And I tried to explain to Flamenco that I didn't. I played Sekiro after the end of the first Democratic debates. So this was taken before Nick got on. And I tried to explain that to him, and he was like, "It's hard to tell the difference between lying and stupid," leaning towards lying. And like, I explained that the timeline doesn't line up, and he's like, "I'm pretty sure 8 is bigger than 4, Vosh." I don't know. He was like so desperate to get ya. Every single post that he made, even when he was factually and provably wrong in the easiest way possible, he would be contentious. And then he just kept typing, and I just stopped responding. I get this a lot. And it's really, really weird to me. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being mentally ill. I have autism. That's not really a mental illness per se, but neuroatypical. I have autism, I have ADHD, and I have bipolar disorder. I ignore the first two because I'm fine being a Zoomer. But for the third one, I take mood stabilizers. I don't think there's anything wrong with being mentally ill, like or being neuroatypical at all. However, it does meaningfully affect your behavior, sometimes in bad ways. You know? Yeah. Pig Puncher, who's right there. There he goes. Pig Puncher has also experienced a lot of harassment from Flamenco. Flamenco also disguised himself as somebody else to try and talk to me during the Discord AMA that I did, tried to hit me with a gotcha, and then upon failing, disappeared and ran back to Kiwi Farms to continue attempting to dox me and Pig Puncher. These people are unstable. They really are. And it's not because Nazis are just like, you have to be psychotic to be a Nazi. We did tests during the Nuremberg trials on the Nazi officials, and these people were psychologically healthy. These people were, for the most part, psychologically well. The original Nazis, the German Nazis, the Nazi Party, these people they seem to be more or less mentally well. There were a lot of problems with them, but it wasn't a problem of psychosis. But these modern Nazis aren't. They are not well, and it makes me feel weird for the most part. I think a lot of it is because these people are being deliberately targeted. Like, think about it. Like think about the Nazi pipeline. Like, here, we can do it. Paint stream. A lot of it is ideology that fosters conspiratorial thinking. That's true, but conservatives also tend to do that. Here, we'll just do a new one. I think we're going to need a new, slightly larger canvas than that. That's better. It's like this, right? Like, this is kind of how radicalization went for a lot of Nazis. So, first, it was Gamergate. For a lot of them, it was disaffected, lonely white dudes, largely straight, largely cisgender, who really latched onto Gamergate because Gamergate was more than a sort of movement about identity. About journalistic integrity. It was more about like defending the last socially acceptable identity for like straight white dudes who like have no real problems in their life, right? So it started with that, and then if you're on Gamergate, like there's probably a bunch of YouTubers that you follow, right? That that reaffirm those opinions. So at first, it might be, fuck, I don't even know any Gamergate YouTubers who aren't full on reactionaries. Like, you have stuff like, oh, is Hunter Avalon here? Hey, Hunter! You're not a bad person for having anxiety and OCD, comrade. Well, you're not my comrade, technically, but... anyway, but like, think of the Gamergate YouTubers. Think of Thunderfoot. Think of Sargon of Akkad, you know? Think of Geeks and Gamers. Think of Upper Echelon Gaming. Think of... God, there are so many that I'm missing right now. So many that I'm missing right now. Oh yeah, The Quartering, Total Biscuit for a time, Video Game Donkey and Vinesauce are good boys. Vinesauce is a good boy. Video Game Donkey tries to be apolitical for the most part. Oh yeah, Bearing, Internet Aristocrat. Yeah. All these big YouTubers. But look at where these YouTubers are now. The problem is, Gamergate was an anti-SJW movement from the beginning, meaning that they were initially, at least, focused on dealing with this evident threat of pink-haired, screamy, the screamy, the trigger, the Trigglypuff, the one. They're all these joyless, sexless, humorless women who are infiltrating the games industry to try and rob Vidya for yeah, true. Video Game Donkey did do that. Trying to like steal Vidya from the white boys, right? So you start with that, but if that's where you're going, like you're just reactionary content, anti-SJW content is invariably going to line up with reactionary content because the SJWs they were talking about never really existed. There have always been humorless, joyless people who want to censor things they don't like. They're typically on the right. They're typically conservative. But the idea that there was this big horde of like slimy SJWs is false. What there really was a collection of progressives who wanted to see gaming get more progressive because it was mostly dominated by like sweaty white dudes. So if you're going to attack the SJWs, you're invariably going to fall into attacking progressive politics. And if you start doing that, you get full-on reactionary content. And that's why right now, Geeks and Gamers does reactionary content. The Quartering does basically fascist content. Sargon of Akkad is a fascist. I'm pretty sure, didn't Naked Ape do stuff during Gamergate as well? I know Flamenco got in on the Gamergate stuff. I know that. Killstream was in on the Gamergate stuff, or at least the post-Gamergate stuff when they when they jumped on it, and they're actual Nazis. And at every point during this transition, like every single time. Oh no, I didn't just do the thing, did I? Where you can't draw the swastika? No, here we go. We saved it. I did the thing. I have an excuse. I'm not a Nazi. All right, anyway. And at every one of these transitions, Naked Ape was after AIU. Oh yeah, there was Atheism is Unstoppable. There was Teal Deer, both of whom are fascist. Atheism is Unstoppable is literally a race realist now. Armored Skeptic has stayed one of the truer skeptics. Yeah, the skeptic community. The point is like, at every one of these junctions, you siphon off the worst elements of the last. When you go from people who care about gaming as an identity to people who will go on YouTube and watch demagogues talk about that, you're siphoning for a slightly smaller group of slightly more politically and socially disparate people. And when you move from the anti-SJW to the anti-progressive content, you're doing the exact same thing. You're taking the worst. You're taking the chaff from the wheat. And then when you move from that towards full-on fascism and Nazism, you're taking the worst from that as well. And unfortunately, in this instance, the worst tends to correspond to a degree of social incompetence. And that social incompetence tends to correspond with stuff like neuroatypical conditions, with schizophrenia, with paranoid disorders, with autism. Do you have any idea how many people I've met that have been Nazis, and then I talk to them for a bit and they're like super fucking suicidal, or they have anxiety issues, or they're a paranoid schizophrenic. This happens to me like all the time. Like every time I talk to a Nazi, it's like wild. This is deliberate. This is deliberate. This isn't an accident. This isn't like, this wasn't like, oh, well, the worst just happened to get worse. Oh, yeah, just the worst people just happened to blah. This isn't like that. This is very, very deliberate. Reactionaries targeted the mentally ill, targeted the lonely, targeted the politically disaffected, because they would be the best radicalized. Stormfront even did an article on this, I think, or like the creator of Stormfront said something. So they've said at times that Sargon of Akkad is a really good gateway to Nazism. Sargon of Akkad was one of the biggest like Gamergate deuterinos. And secondly, they've said that Gamergate was an excellent like jumping off point into reactionary politics for a lot of people. Do you think that it's targeting? Do you think conspiracy theories pull in people who are already prone to it, Vosh? I think it's both. Mentally ill people are going to be prone, at least people with paranoia are going to be prone towards conspiracy theorizing, and people who are socially disaffected are often autistic, or vice versa. So those people are also easily targeted as well. They recruit from incel communities. They recruit from like Discord servers where people are like lonely and suicidal. I've seen these things happen. It's really fucking weird. Even the people you wouldn't expect to be Nazis, like Boot, for example. Boot on my Discord server, the Nazbol turned tanky, nothing's really changed, haha. Even when you do this and that, even she's like not well. Yeah, ISIS does the same. Everybody does the same. Everybody does this. All reactionary movements like target like lonely disaffected men. ISIS did this shit. You offer them a community, you offer them a purpose, you offer them an identity, you offer them an enemy to rally against. Yeah, there's a huge crossover between incels and MGTOWs and Nazis. If you go on Brain Cells, why don't we go on Brain Cells? I'm going to screen it first to make sure there's no porn. Yeah, so here we go. That took me like 3 seconds. So here's Brain Cells. It's incel forum on Reddit. It's quarantined. So here's a post. What the fuck? I love trannies now. From the Daily Signal. We've done these people before. It's a fake news site that exists to regurgitate anti-trans propaganda. Trans teen took first in a high school track competition has a message for girls who took issue with the results. Instead of complaining about the unfairness of being forced to compete against male athletes, just work harder. Something tells me, by the way, that the trans woman who won didn't say, instead of complaining about the unfairness of being forced to compete against male athletes. Notice how that part isn't in quotes. The person who placed first in the track competition said this, a whole bunch of shit that's not in quotes, and then 2 words that are in quotes. Damn. Oh, I'm not showing it? There you go. So this is an incel subreddit. This has literally nothing to do with trans people. So let's see. I think literally every comment says tranny. Yeah. I mean, so guys, that's supposed to be a forum. That's supposed to be a forum for, like, dudes who are having trouble getting laid. And, like, I used to browse Brain Cells all the time. I would do it all the time because they're very sociologically fascinating to me. A lot of them are Nazis. Think about how well it fits in with the Nazi mentality of perpetual victimhood. So a Nazi believes the white man is under constant threat by the Jews and by the foreign races, the disgusting brown and black people coming on in here. They're fucking jumping on in here. And the white man is under threat. The white man has to be protected. Now you add in the additional line, hey, the reason why you can't get laid is because Jews have conditioned women through media and through miscegenation to want to get fucked by black cock and knocked up by Tyrone's babies. So one of the reasons why you, white man, can't get laid is because of the machinations of the Jews. It's one of the ways in which they're destroying you. You are on the front lines of white genocide. It fits in perfectly. There are also a lot of Indian incels in that sub, and frankly, these days, with all of the Kashmir nonsense going on, Indians are probably actually more prone to fascism than American whites are. Hooey. I'm forgetting POC brain cells? Yeah. There are also people of color who are participating in incel communities, but I would say the default trend is, if nothing else, towards extremely reactionary content. Anyway, like, what am I getting at here? Like, I don't fucking know. It's wild to me that, like, most of the time, if you're watching this right now and you're a Nazi or a fascist, whatever, and you don't think you're, like, and you maybe, like, realize, like, you're not super, like, maybe you think you're paranoid or whatever, like, you were targeted for that. Like, you're the victim of people who benefit from selling you a narrative that gets you in line. I don't know. Again, there's nothing wrong with being mentally ill, like, on its own. I think there's something wrong with targeting mentally ill people to throw them into Nazi groups, though. That's a little bad.